and welcome to Fact Check live on Top TV Kenya. My name is Abel Nicanor Omaseite, and today I come to you live from the Kenyatta International Convention Center. And today we are privileged to host the Daragwa Member of Parliament, Mr. Jeremiah Kioni, who will be speaking to us on matters to do with the politics in the mountain. A number of politicians have been traversing the region. Is it the secret card come 2022? Is a wait and see, and let's wait to see what is Mheshimiwa's take on all those issues. You can weigh in by using the hashtag FactCheck, or also you can tag us at Abel Omaseite and at Top TV Kenya, and your feedback will be valued. Now straight into it, Mheshimiwa, karibu sana Top TV.
Asante sana, nashukuru kupata nafasi.
Yeah, such a pleasure to have you here.
Yes.
Na tunashukuru umetukaribisha nyumbani kwako.
Hapa ni kwenyu, vile tu nimekaa kwa muda hapa.
Sawa sawa. Mheshimiwa, let's get straight into it. We have seen a number of politicians traversing the Mount Kenya region in search for votes. I mean, do you think the region is the secret card come 2022 that it will decide on who will succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta as Kenya's 5th president?
Since 1963, Mount Kenya region has never gone into an election without a presidential candidate from that region. A candidate who was either going to win or who had some strong support. Because during Moizela, we had candidates from the region, but they always lost to Moi because of political engineering of that time. But since multi-party democracy, we have not had an election without a strong candidate from Mount Kenya. And what has happened in those past elections is that the region would be influenced by and large by the candidate who was coming from that region. We are in a unique situation come 2022, because while there may be some 2-3 people from that region who are talking about being presidential candidates, some of them have already declared themselves as presidential candidates. None of them seems to meet the imaginations of people from that area. None of them will be able to get a following. And that means that, and by the way, it was the case. I think it's not by omission. You can easily say that it is something that was deliberately made to happen, and this started way back in 2013. And you can see where we were 2013 and where we are. So deliberately, nobody has been allowed to come up with a formidable following in that region other than the current president, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. For that reason, to answer your question quickly, is that without doubt, Mount Kenya region will be one of the regions which you can now refer to as the swing vote. And it may not be the swing vote, it may end up being the one that determines who becomes the president. So because it's a huge voting bloc, rich in terms of number of votes. And if it was to go one way, it would be very, very difficult for that presidential candidate to lose.
Looking at the past general elections, we have seen that the mountain has often voted as a bloc, and so far in Kenya's history, the area has produced 3 presidents. But this round, the president, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, is exiting the stage, but no leader has so far been identified that he'll take the mantle from the president and lead the Gema region. Do you think in the coming future, the mountain will be like, for instance, the western region, in that they don't vote as a bloc? They call it a Soi region.
One is that I think it's important to know that 2002, the region did not vote as a bloc. Because there is one bloc that voted, or half of it, almost half of it voted for KANU, but the other half voted for, there used to be Rainbow coalition. Granted, both coalitions were being led by personalities from the region. But I think for us to be able to answer your question, give it a fair answer, you will have to understand why is it that this region has always voted as a bloc. It's voted as a bloc because of some aspect of fear. What becomes of their investments, their interests? What becomes of them? Because is a bloc with very many voters from outside, but they don't have numbers in parliament. So what becomes of them if they are not in parliament, they are not in the executive, they have the numbers outside? What happens if somebody takes over power and decides to learn
that is a
out
speculation.
of town? It was done by Moi for 24 years. It's not a speculation. Moi messed the community. Community interest, community investments, community education, community confidence. And that always links in people's mind when you see this coming. But unlike before, let me tell you, throughout my life, I've seen campaigns against and for, but all of them informed by one aspect, that this region is endowed in resources, in education, with investments. It has all the developments that you require. You do not need to give it more attention. But we have never had an opportunity. I have never had an opportunity in my lifetime to go before a person and say, this is what we want done in our region. So this presents us with a rare opportunity to go to the executive as people from the mountain and say, we've come, like other regions. We want these things done in our areas. We want to see improvement in this area, improvement in that area, fair sharing of resources, because we have always been denied that opportunity by the fact that somebody from the region was sitting in the highest office. So you'll be told, why are you crying? You have a person sitting in the highest office. But this is going to be a very interesting 5 years for us. I don't know whether it will be more than 5 years. And if it be, if it's more than 5 years, so be it. But it is an opportunity for us to say, where is our 53.4 billion shillings? Why is the economy not growing?
Yeah,
where are our constituencies? Yes.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that in general in regards to matters to do with the Building Bridges Initiative, popularly known as the Amendment Bill 2020. But Mheshimiwa, in between, in the mountain, we see that the eastern side of the mountain, I'm talking about the Embu community, Meru community, they are now saying we have been backing the other side, the west side, for a long time. Now it's our turn. Quoting Kiraitu Murungi, who is the Meru senator, saying it is our turn to vie for the presidency, and those in the west should support us. What do you make of all this?
One is that I don't see anybody strong coming from that region vying for the presidency. And I can tell you, if they had, for example, if Kiraitu Murungi himself was in the ring, he may not have needed to say that he comes from the east.
The speaker has declared his
they will have to do more than just say that he's coming from the east to help him attract, attention in terms of a serious presidential candidate. What I was saying is, if it was Kiraitu Murungi himself who had offered himself, he's been there with us and with the whole country since 1992. We've seen him fight for multi-party democracy. We have seen him fight for the new constitution. We've seen him perform as a minister. So he would not have needed to say that he comes from the east. He just needed to say, I'm Kiraitu Murungi. I now am offering myself as a presidential candidate. So I think this issue of east-west is because there isn't a strong person coming from either of the blocks. One. Two, whenever it is that you want to negotiate and you feel you want to have an edge, you start playing that identity politics, where you say, we are this small, we have always backed you, it is our turn. You have had it with Kalonzo Musyoka telling Laila, I have backed you at this time is my turn. Musalia has said the same. William Ruto is saying it this time. It's something, it's an identity where you're also trying to look for some sympathy, language that you always hear during campaigns. And finally, Remy says that this is not also the first time the East has trying to break away from the West, or the West has trying to break away from the East. And but using the words of our forefathers, it is something that is very difficult to happen. You cannot survive alone.
So far, I've seen 3 individuals have declared their bid to contest for the presidential seat. There is businessman Jimmy Wanjigi, there is outgoing Murang'a Governor Mwangi wa Iria, and also Speaker Justin Muturi. Should they go up to the end? Should they keep on campaigning? Do you think the mountain will support their bid?
I learn with as the deputy presidential candidate with Musalia, 2013. I invite them to come for some lessons. Yeah.
Only that?
I can only tell you that.
Okay.
We've been there, done that, and bought a t-shirt. No excitement.
Okay, let's talk about this issue about political debt. In 2002, allies of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga have been claiming the former Premier said Kibaki Tosha. And also we see allies of the Deputy President William Ruto commenting that the President, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta said, kumi yangu na kumi yake. From where you see, do you think the mountain owes anybody a political debt?
In life, nobody owes another one political debt. And even at your age, if you ever hear somebody promising you votes, that I will give you votes come 2032, then you should think twice about what you've been told. One is you should understand what is the message. Is the message for 2032 or is the message for the audience for now? But also, as a politician, you should always know that I have command of only one vote, the one that is mine. I don't even have command of the vote, of that vote of my wife.
But the DP is saying
the DP may say many things, and I'm saying this now. Two, when I tell you that I will give you votes 10 years from now, it will not be me voting. It's my children, to some extent, my grandchildren. So how can I determine the kind of a leader they will need 10 years from now? Some of these things are things you not want to say later on, because you, as the person who was promised, you will be seen as a person who was not able to see the global picture and who doesn't have the global picture in mind of what it means. One, true for votes. Two, in terms of what is it that you are looking votes for. I mean, you are representing different generations. People who are much younger, they were in school, they did not even know what is politics. They come of age, they have the top TV, they understand what governance is all about, they will be able to evaluate you against the prevailing circumstances. So some of these things to be brought to the table to say that you are promised, is that really you can talk about it, in a past way, but it's not a thing you'd want to table.
So you're saying
it's not a thing you can table in a boardroom and say that this was a board resolution somewhere. Honestly, in politics, we make promises every day. I'm going to make promises to the people of Daragwa. I will fulfill some of them. There are many others I will not be able to fulfill. It is a question of those kind of promises are made, and it is upon you. When those promises are being made to you, you also need to see which are realistic, which are not realistic. Is this person capable of even delivering what he has promised? But you cannot then be left mourning, forever.
But let's face it, Mheshimiwa, as much as you are saying there is no political debt, we have seen the DP has been doing rounds in roads in the mountain, and courtesy of that, we see, as much as you are saying there is no debt, Wananchi are not speaking the same language as you are.
I will tell you, when he realized that it is backfiring, he walked back out of it.
Are you saying
when he realized that it's backfiring on him, he was very quick to abandon it and say, I don't have a debt, I'm not asking for a political debt, and he now has abandoned that whole talk. Because it's really like blackmail. Instead of saying what you want to do for the people, you want to remind them of a debt. You shouldn't come to tell us that we have a debt. You should come to tell us what is it that you are going to do for us when you're in power. I mean, you cannot just become a president on account that somebody promised you the presidency. It's not a place to sit and take a cup of tea. It's a place to sit and crack your head. You really need to deliver on promises. You need to change the lives of people. You need to improve the economy. You need to stabilize the country. We need to see hope in you. We have to look at the issues of integrity. We've got to see how honest are you. What is your track record? You've been there for this number of years. What is it that we can assign to you? You know, this kind of thing. I mentioned Kraito Murungi. You look at Kraito Murungi, I go back 1992. I see him being thrown in and out by the police, fighting for the kind of space that we have today. Talk about Raila. I go back to 1988, and I see what he has done for this country. So even as we were saying Kibaki Tosha, it is one of the things that he did, sacrifices that people made. So it is, and I'm not saying that it's him that I'm campaigning for, but running for the presidency, it's not just a question of waking up and saying, by the way, these people owe me a debt. You remember we were campaigning with them? That kind of talk. You can use it to fill up some, empty gaps in your speech, but not it to become your rallying point.
I want us to move a step forward and talk about this kind of lobby group called the Mount Kenya Foundation. How influential are they in regards to how the mountain will vote? I've seen they did interview ODM chief Raila Odinga. They did an interview with the OKA team, Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka, Moses Wetangula, and also I was surprised to see Jirongo, former member of parliament, in that session. Do you think they are very influential when it comes to how the mountain will vote?
When you are looking for votes, you must identify all the sectors that you need to talk to. There is a business class. We have the Juakari sector. We have the Mama Mboga. We have the Boda Boda. We have the public rallies that you go to. You have the intellectuals at the university level. You have the political leadership. All these are different sectors, different classes of people that you need to talk to. Mount Kenya Foundation is one such group. They belong to the business community, and they have their own discussions. They meet in places from time to time, and they are very keen to know what kind of political leadership is emerging, because it has a direct impact on what they do day to day. So while you cannot wish them away, but talking to them does not mean that you have talked to everybody from the mountain region or even from the Lake region. You've got to talk to them and look for the others, talk to them. You need to talk to all these groups. We have the elders, the Council of Elders, the Kikuyu Council of Elders, the Ruo Council of Elders, the Kisii Council of Elders. These are groups that they all have their own inferences in this, in small bits. And it is the endorsement of all these groups that then gives you the courage, the confidence to go out into the public rallies and start talking to them, because at least you are getting some acceptance from quarters. It cannot be that once you talk to Mount Kenya Foundation, you think you've nailed it. Far from it.
Before I take a break, Mheshimiwa, do you think, or do you have any reason as to why the foundation, Mount Kenya Foundation, has not yet interviewed when DP William Samoei Ruto? For
the obvious reason that you also don't just interview everybody available. I mean, take it. The DP has not been very kind to the leadership from that region. He has not been very kind to the president himself. And first and foremost, the president is also a businessman. So some of the people perhaps in the Mount Kenya Foundation are very close friends of the president. And I can also tell you, there is also something else that makes it very difficult for them to sit with him. He seems to set up the low-income group against the high-income group earners. When you talk of business people, he seems to be setting up the Juakali people against these business people.
How so?
That language was there on the issue of the dynasty. You have a camera, I do not have, you are a dynasty. Like now, you Top TV, you actually belong to the dynasty. And when I am telling you now, you take it from me, because there's something I know that you don't know. There are not many people who come to interview me with this kind of cameras here. So this is really a dynasty setting. And even the ones who come here in the past didn't take that long to set up all these studio type things. So you belong to the dynasty. And when somebody is setting up others against you, then that's not the kind of a person you want in leadership. Forget about Mount Kenya Foundation. Your own Top TV. If there is a person who wants leadership and he has been setting others up against you, you want to avoid that person. That is the first qualification. So if you ask me, in the eyes, in the minds, in the meetings of this Mount Kenya Foundation, because they also play people, people you sit with, he's failed the first litmus test. You cannot set my employees against me and then I give you power over me. Okay. I mean, that explains it.
I get your point. You're speaking to Bwana Jeremiah Kioni, who is the member of parliament for Ndaraga constituency, live in Kenyatta International Convention Center. And as you can see behind me, there are some billions of shillings. I don't know what this is all about, Mheshimiwa.
That we are looking for.
Yeah, we'll be speaking to us after this short commercial break, but you can still engage us on our handles at Top TV Kenya, at Abel Omaseti, of course, using the hashtag FactCheck, and we'll be sampling your views as the show goes on. See you on the other side of this break. All right, welcome back. This is Fact Check on Top TV Kenya, sitting in with Mheshimiwa Bwana Jeremiah Kioni, Member of Parliament for Naraga constituency. Now, Mheshimiwa, let's talk matters economy. We have seen a number of presidential hopefuls that have been throwing in economic models, huge terms, bottom up, trickle down, pesa mfukoni. I mean, what do you make of all these models? Do they have something behind it, some sort of, it can make or rather improve the economy, it can make Mwananchi have money in their pockets? What do you make of all these economic models presidential hopefuls are proposing to Kenyans?
What all those models are missing is one thing: political stability in our country. It does not matter how good the model is. If it doesn't incorporate in it the aspect of stabilizing this country politically, it's a waste of our time. We will go through another cycle like we've seen, where we promise people things and young men are leaving the universities, the colleges on every year, but they come out and they remain unemployed for a long time. Or they cannot even be able to create their own employment, a source of living, because we have not stabilized the country to a level where it can be able to generate economic growth that is sustainable. And I want to tell you that every time we are having elections in this country, there is a year of preparing for elections, there is a year when we do the elections, there is another year of recovery. We spent 3 years doing politicking. 3 years in 5 years, you cannot grow an economy of a country the size of Kenya in 2 years, let alone growing it to ensure that it provides employment for the young people. So the starting point for any of our presidential candidates is to come to the table and tell us, we will stabilize this country politically by eliminating corrosive politics, by doing 1, 2, 3 things. If you don't do that, all that we are going through is yet another 5 years of voting, and out of it, desperation, another 5 years of voting out of it, because the number of young people who are being let out into the market from the universities every year is much higher than the kind of employment opportunities that we are creating. Very small. The population growth and the amount of money that needs to be able to sustain a dignified standard of living cannot be sustained by a growth of economy for only 2 years. Every election time, we lose 600 billion shillings. 600 billion shillings. In the last 5 elections that we have had in this country, that's a whopping 3 trillion Kenya shillings. So, and I want to tell you again, it requires our understanding of this issue, agreeing to fix the governance structure so that we reduce the level of corrosiveness in our politics, reduce this unnecessary competition in politics, introduce confidence, reduce the risk level that is there in this country, and that will then attract investors into this country. If I know that I have a 5-year continuous environment, an environment that can be sustained for 5 years, that would help me grow the economy, I'll come and invest here. So, but if it is 2 years, there is no investment that can be able to make a return adequate to cover the investment in 2 years. So that is something that we must fix it.
What should Kenyans believe in? I mean, they're being told this is the best economic model, yet you're saying right now we don't have that political stability to support those models, however good they may be. So what should Kenyans believe in?
We must get a person who can be able to promise, and that's what I'm listening to myself. I am listening to the person who tell me, I want us to stabilize this country going forward politically this way. Then I know whatever model he comes and puts on the table is likely to bear fruits. But it does not matter whether it is prepared by IMF or World Bank. For as long as it is brought into this country, we are doing politics 3 years, and we have only 2 years to grow, to undertake any form of sensible economic growth, we will not get there. No. And we have already wasted that number of years, 5 times 5, 25, 30 years, because of that. And that map, that graph tells you as much.
Yeah, we'll be coming to it. Before we get into the map, Mheshimiwa, From where you see it, which is the lesser evil? Is it higher taxation or more borrowing? Which is the lesser evil?
Is it higher taxation
or more borrowing?
Or more borrowing?
Yeah.
Now, if you go to some countries in the world that are heavily taxed, it's a question of the tax that I have paid, what has it done for me? If we are borrowing, if the taxation is so high in a country, or let me put it that way, if you have very high taxation levels, like it is done in other countries, and when you go to your compound, you don't even need a security fence, you do not need a watchman, you do not need a grill door. Why? Because the security level in the country is top. That cost that you incur when you're hiring your own security guards, when you're putting up your own security fence, if it is it's removed from you, and the government ensures you have security like it is. I was in the US the other day, and a Kenyan invited me to his house. A Kenyan, your age mate, invited me to his house in Texas, and you just walk into his house. No compound, like no fencing, no gates, no dogs, nothing, just pets. And they are not in a hurry to lock all the doors, the three of them, and put your hand inside. You are trying to lock even from inside, because, you know, even if you do it from outside and a guy see, if we are able to take care of all that insecurity, it does not matter the level of taxation, because what you would have spent, or what you spend taking care of yourself because of insecurity in the country, is taken over by the government. Then you can allow high taxation. So taxation must correspond with the services being offered. But you don't want to pay taxes and you cannot see the service coming. One. Two, I think it is also not proper for us as a country to be borrowing or to be taxing people to pay debts. We will have to go through that phase for a while. But if we manage our politics again, and we manage them well, we will be able to have, like, the Mombasa Express Superhighway being done by a private investor, who then says, I do not need to be given a coin by you Kenyans. All I want is a stable country. I do not want you to come and burn down my road. I will want an opportunity to charge for the next X number of years. I will recoup my investment and my profits, and I will leave you with the road. When we stop incurring this very heavy, huge, capital intensive, very, investment that take a lot of our money, the SGR, this express superhighway, fortunately it is not being funded from Treasury. The one that we want to do from Lemuru all the way to Mau Summit. If we get the private sector, like it has been done by the Asian Tigers, coming to invest, and then they recoup their investment by way of charging the tolls and the rest, we have relieved this debt burden from the taxes that we pay. And that would then mean that we don't need to pay heavy taxes, or the taxes then will be used to cover these soft issues, the issues of insecurity, the issues of health, things, taking care of the elderly, ensuring that people who are unemployed are also cushioned from the difficulties of living until they get employment. If we can be able to relieve ourselves from this heavy debt burden which we need to pay because of our taxes, and we need to do the roads ourselves using our taxes. Why? Because the private investor out there has no confidence with our political system that it will guarantee a return on his investment. So I am saying it again. The issue of taxes, the issue of heavy borrowing, and the issue of economic models that we want to have, all of them are tied to sorting out this level of corrosiveness of our politics.
But as much as you say that and explain all what you said, the buck rests with parliamentarians. I mean, these laws pass through your hands. I can give an example of the 16% VAT that is imposed on petroleum products. You saw it had ripple effects on other products, and Kenyans really complained. I mean,
yeah, I'm trying, it is us. I'm trying to go a little bit behind that 16%, Kidogo tu nyuma yake nikwambie ya kwamba if we can be able to sort out our politics, we will not be taxing ourselves the way we are doing unnecessarily. Why am I saying this? If the economy is growing continuously, then the number of people who needs to pay taxes continue increasing, the tax burden comes down. But for as long as you are taxing the same people and the burden, the things that needs to be done are increasing, this same number of people who have been paying taxes will continue to pay higher taxes. And of course, it will eventually go to what you are doing in terms of what you do on, to the consumer who must pay at the end of the road. Because the people who are being taxed are the same ones, and they are the ones selling the products, so the taxes are eventually transferred to yourself, us, the consumers. And I'm trying to ask you to understand what I'm saying, and I want to say it now slowly. If we have a stable political system in this country, taxes will come down, development will move faster, we'll get private investors investing in this country to the point where you do not need to use the taxes that we collect to undertake huge capital investment projects. Because once we do that, the ordinary person suffers. That is why you will see, like when the president was in France, the private sector came together and said, guarantee us that you are going to get the BBI through. I'm not talking, I don't want to introduce the issue of BBI, but it was amazing that the private sectors, the private sector investors, or the investors in France, had actually identified BBI as a stabilizing document, and out of which they could come and invest. They had promised to invest from Liloni all the way to Mau Summit, like we are getting this Mombasa Express Superhighway. And they are very keen to read, they have the indicators. They are very keen to read the indicators. They will know this country is not yet stable enough to attract the kind of investment I want to invest. Because if I'm taking money to invest in a country, what security can they give me? They cannot give me the title of their country. They cannot give me title of their land. I want them to guarantee me that I'll get a return to the investment, of the investment that I make. And how do I get that return? I have to look at their laws, and I have to look at how stable are they politically. And that is what we are lacking. And I can tell you, even if you don't want us to talk about it, quite a bit of the BBI was trying to stabilize this country.
Yeah, you talk about the Amendment Bill 2020, of course, which was declared null and void by, I think, the High Court and the Court of Appeal, but I think they are going up to the Supreme Court.
No, the one is that it's not the bill that was declared null and void. It is really the whole of that BBI bill, that the process that was declared null and void. But the issues that were contained in the document are still live with us.
We'll get into that in minutes. But in 2 seconds, speak to us about youth and unemployment. I want to quote you. In a certain media house, you stated Mount Kenya has the highest number of youth in Kenya, and so it has the highest number of youth
unemployed youth.
So how do we deal with this? Maybe I might be sitting here, but I don't have a job. So how do we deal with this youth unemployment?
And that is the most annoying thing, that we are not able to link the unemployment level of our young people with the kind of politics that we do every 5 years. I will go back to it, and you can take it from me. If we do not fix the governance structure in this country to the point where we have only 6 months of campaigning and 4 years and 6 months of growing the economy, our young people will continue being unemployed. That is the crux of the matter. We cannot politic in 10 years, 6 years we are doing politics. We are only growing the economy 4 years. Yet we are pushing out from the universities, from colleges every year, almost 10,000 young people. We will have to fix the politics so that investments in our country can increase, and then we create employment to the young people. In the short run, we must do the things that are being promised, the things of looking for cash transfer to their families, not to the individuals, perhaps to the families that are not employed, but to create employment for our young people and I'm talking to the young people, please understand, you cannot have this country doing politics, a year of preparing elections, a year of elections, and a year of recovery. Look at this. We are now 2021. We are now preparing for elections. This whole interview is about Murima, Mount Kenya. Next year is who is doing nomination, who has lost, who is where, what is the elections date, a whole day. 2023, we are now waking up to say, how do you organize the government, who sits where, a whole 3 years are lost. And then we expect us to grow the economy in 2024 and 2025. 2026, we are back, preparing for 2027.
How do you deal with this sickness?
We must remove this unnecessary competition. Maintain democracy, but remove unnecessary competition. I went to Geneva the other day, and in that country, their president is rotated every 7 months. Every 7 months. They sit in the cabinet meeting and say, you assume the role of the president for the coming 7 months. Ask anybody walking in the streets of Geneva, who is your president? They are not bothered. They do not know. And even the team does not bother inform. They will be there in the media, but it's not hyped. Until we are able to reduce our level of, it's a do or die. I only become something because I am the president, or our community becomes something because they have produced the president. Until we deal with that, our young people, unfortunately, are going to really be struggling. But I also ask my colleagues, for how long do you think the young people will continue struggling that way? Yeah. We must wake up, and this is the bit. And this is where I fought the court. They failed to see what solution was being put on the table for the benefit of the young people when they went and started celebrating in the courts, saying that the process was wrong. If the product was right, and if this court believes that you do a judgment for the public good, they should have thought twice about that judgment.
Let's get straight into these charts. I saw you in, I don't know which town in particular, but I think it was around Mount Kenya, explaining to people how they lost billions of shillings that the Amendment Bill 2020 was proposing if it could be passed by, of course, Kenyans. So what is all this chat about? I see
one is that I have these boards across the country.
Yeah, my cameraman, you can pan over there.
So you can see, you can be able to, can you capture that one? I want to tell you about the issue of GDP in growth in this country from 1983 to 2019. And you'll notice that, are we there?
You can just explain, then he'll get some cutaway.
You are there?
Yeah.
Every time we are doing elections, look at where our economic growth is. We started 1993, when we were doing elections, we were at 3.0%. We dropped after elections like we always do, then we started going up. All the way up, or sometimes 86, again 87. We are now preparing for 1988 elections. Yeah. We dropped down to 88 where we did the Murorongo. After the elections of Murorongo, we never recovered because everybody was unhappy with the results. We dropped to negative, I think 0.3. You can see that from there 1997. Then we were there 1992, sorry. And we started going up, 1993, 1994, 1995, we're up there. 1996, again we start coming down.
It has been the trend up to recently.
Since 1983, that is the trend. Up, down to the floor, election year. Up, down to the floor, election year. If it is possible, like you can now see, this must be sometimes like 2010, after we got ourselves a new constitution, a demonstration that if we have confidence in our political system, because when we give ourselves the 2010 constitution, there was confidence. And you can see the investments went up and the growth, economic growth went beyond 7. If we were able to maintain 7% growth, the employment for the young people will be guaranteed in this country. But look at again, when we came to 2012, bop, down. And it was stopped because of the new constitution. 2017 again, we were there coming down, handshake, stopped us from hitting the floor. Yeah. That must be fixed in this country. And young people, listen, if we do not fix this, when we hit 7.5%, let's ask ourselves, how can we maintain a 7.5 or 7.5% economic growth per year? If we go to 10% per year for 10 years, we have turned the country 100%. We will be able to generate employment for young people. When I was leaving university, before around that year, 1984, 1985, 86, there, I had 3 employers in the classroom. Before I could do my last exam, I had 3 employers asking me, we are offering you this and this and this. I left the university before I had my results. I was already working. Why? Because the economic growth was matching the kind of young people who are coming into the market. We can do that if we allow the economy to grow. That is about the GDP. It must be fixed. So when you hear people saying that we are changing the constitution to create positions for people, call them bluff. They are liars.
Talk to us about this.
I want to tell you about this before you come to this. If you created the positions of the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Ministers, and the rest, and they are members of Parliament, no extra salary. You have just given people titles. So people know, even if I don't win the presidency, I will still be sitting around with him. No extra salary. They are members of Parliament, but you've given them titles. We did it in 2007, the economic growth. But for as long as we are electing one person to become the one ruling over everybody, this tanking will continue.
The problem is the executive.
It is not the executive. It is our nature as a country. We are communities, and we think that it is only when you are near power that you are secure. Create positions near power. It doesn't cost us money.
So
but it is a question of inclusivity, and it's a question of perception. Over time, we'll get to know that it doesn't even pay much to be the one on top there. It will come to that, because as we continue dealing with institutions, distribution of resources will be done by the institutions and not the individuals. But we need to fix it quickly. And I find it very difficult to argue with the DP, because he lies to Kenyans. That when we talked about BBI, when we talk about amendment of the constitution, and I have a bill on the floor, it is a question of creating position. What a liar. How dishonest can you be when you are looking for the highest office on the land? And we are saying, I want him, bring him here. We had the Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga in Bunge the other time. He wasn't getting an extra salary. He was just getting a salary of an MP. When you say that we are creating a position of the Prime Minister and you say it's Raila, Raila is 80 years old, 76 years old. It's not him we are fixing. We are fixing the future of our children.
He is not here to justify
Please,
the argument.
it's not him. His ideas, what he has said, I'm arguing with.
Yeah.
And if he has the courage of coming to argue with me, I will be happy. I know he would.
Get into this, billions of shillings.
This is, if you look at there is the issue of one man, one vote, one shilling. This is a principle all over the world. Of course, you also take care of other factors. But it's one of the things that you throw in the resource allocation of any country. And in the resource allocation, using that formula of one man, one vote, one shilling, a total of 53.4 billion shillings was coming to counties within Mount Kenya region. I have only picked the Mount Kenya region. I can also do a chart for all the other regions. Every region was getting some extra amount of money. This is the amount of money that was going to come to us from Mount Kenya region. It was going to be guaranteed in the constitution. Not if you want. We were going to have it in the constitution so that it does not matter who becomes the president. That reduces the corrosiveness of our politics, because it doesn't matter whether you're president or not. My money is guaranteed in the constitution, I'll still get it. So we were strengthening devolution, but with the BBI. And I just wanted to show, because in the Mount Kenya region, the lie was sold. We are creating positions for people. They were never told there was 53.4 billion shillings that was coming to them. Now, she can have come home to roast.
But let's face it, the courts have put their brakes on the bill, but so
the
how...
problems, they put brakes to the document. The problem is still with us. The young people are still unemployed. The people from back home, your area, my area, everywhere, they still cannot be able to pay bursaries, pay school fees for their children. They're still looking for bursary. The money that was supposed to have helped them didn't come. So the courts may have said no to the document, but they didn't do anything to our problem. Look at this other one. Yes, this other side. Again, we were not told that the BBI had a provision that was saving these constituencies. There are 27 of them. I've only picked 7 that are in the region that this chart addresses. We have other charts addressing the other regions. But these are 7 constituencies that will disappear. They had been saved by a clause in the BBI. And the BBI was saying, for as long as a constituency has been in existence, any subsequent boundaries review by IEBC will not scrap it. Now we have removed that saving clause. The constitution comes and becomes operational with the next review, IEBC. These constituencies disappear. Why? Their populations are low. But what had BBI proposed? That since we want us to save these 27 constituencies that do not have the necessary population quota, which is 164,000 people, what are you going to do with the constituencies that have 500,000 people? And it is for that reason that another 70 constituencies were being introduced, so that the larger ones are subdivided, so that the population averages are near equal. So it is not that there were more people who are being created or opportunities were being created for more people to be employed. No, we were sorting out this unequal distribution of resources because of unequal sizes of constituencies. But again, a lie was sold to the Kenyans that we are increasing the number of politicians to create positions. But look at it now. We have Roiro, 500,000 people, Bugoma, 320,000 people, Kakamega. How can a member of parliament use 100 million shillings to give to those kind of people, while another constituency with 80,000 people is also getting 100 million shillings? How do you ever equalize this?
He's telling me you're running out of time, but I promise we'll set another day so that we can come discuss more about all these issues on the chats behind us. But very quickly,
lakini wewe umechanga pia? Sema ndio kubali.
But very quickly, do you think in 2 seconds there will be another handshake between the president and
every 2 things are a minimum after every elections? One, assurance of political stability in your economic development proposals that you have for the country. 2, that when you win, you are not going to humiliate the person you lose. You are not. Yours is not to humiliate. It is not to look down upon the person who lost. You reach out to that person and tell them you well played. Like Manchester and Arsenal, after every game you shake hands and say umecheza mzuri, lakini tutakutana tena. But what we do not want is immediately we play on Saturday, on Monday you are again preparing for another match. This is what we have been doing in this country. We finish elections on Friday, Tuesday people are back planning on how to bring you down. That's not what we want. Handshakes is a necessary thing. It's an integral part of our political system.
Again, in 2 seconds, the president is winding up on his tenure. I think he has been left with only 10 months to leave office. What do you think should be his priority as he exists?
Bringing close to completion, if not completion, his projects. He has many projects that are going on across the country. He needs to see to bring them to some sensible level of completion, if not total completion, and of course also to prepare for a smooth handover, a smooth transition. That is what you do every time you have this kind of time left, and he is doing it. We were with him. He had invited us in State House, and he said he doesn't want an extra hour in State House. He is busy at his desk clearing what he needs to clear. When we told him that he should come out and talk to people, he said it's not his business. He's not looking for votes. And it's true, he's not looking for votes. It's us who are looking for votes. Yeye amefanya kazi yake. Sisi tuendelee na ile inatakana.
Somebody sent me a message that the next time you meet with the head of state, tell him Ngalema na curfew kidogo.
Curfew. Yes, I think it is something that needs to be addressed. But this afternoon I received some bad news of a friend of mine who's died of COVID, and I was asking, this thing is still hitting people. So he needs to agree, look at the curfew, pengine punguza masaa, lakini again know that what we have learned from these other world bodies is that we are likely to have another spike in November. So let us be cautious. We don't want to go back to where we were last year.
Mheshimiwa, nashukuru sana. Asante kwa kuitikia wito wetu na kutenga muda kuzungumza na vijana.
Unasukuma sisi sana.
Nashukuru sana. That has been Naraga Member of Parliament Bwana Jeremiah Kioni speaking to us about the state of the nation and also the politics in the mountain. Remember, this has been Fact Check Live on Top TV Kenya. We do this every week. My name is Abel Nicanor Omasete. See you soon.